welcome to the weekly show of Classroom Without Walls. On this show, I interview leading social media, digital marketers, entrepreneurs, business owners. We come here and we talk about their best social media marketing practices and strategies and tactics so that you and I, we can future-proof our businesses. And today, my guest of honor will join us in a few minutes. He's running a little bit late. And today, we are talking about something that is very relevant and to every single entrepreneur and small business owner. That is how to get published on large publications, get published on Inc. magazine and Forbes, and Mashable, Huffington Post, and MSN Money, Fox News, all those different channels. And I'm not sure about you. The last 2 years, I did got featured on Forbes, Entrepreneur, and a few other publications. And the media coverage has benefited my business, my personal brand so much. So if this is something that you are thinking about, and definitely join us live and stay for us for an hour, and you are going to walk away from this 1 hour interview with best practices, and we are going to discuss a 6-element or 6-step process to get you published. My guest of honor, and maybe I can share his LinkedIn profile. So let me just do that. And my guest of honor, John White, let me share my screen. And by the way, we are live on LinkedIn. We are live on Facebook, on Periscope, and on YouTube. So do me a favor, let me know in the comment section where you are joining me live from, social media-wise and geographically speaking. So I love my global community. And by the way, I also created a WhatsApp group to send people weekly reminders and so that it is a way for you to plan your schedule. You can decide this week I want to go to Dr. I's show, and so that you can really, or next week the topic is not relevant to me, you don't have to come. I want you to really benefit from my free content. Okay. So let me know where you are joining us live from. And so my guest of honor, I'm really honored. Let me share my screen. So John White, and is our guest of honor today. And he is the founder and CMO of Social Marketing Solutions. And he has published more than 250 articles on Inc. magazine, Huffington Post, Influencive, MSN Money, and so many other publications. Just on LinkedIn, as you can see, he has 50,000 followers. And so he's definitely an expert in this field. And today we are really going to unpack this article that he wrote, which is here. So this is the article that we're going to go through today, how to write articles editors love and will publish. Don't you just love that? And you are writing something that people are just like, wow, what a great story. We want to feature you on Forbes. Imagine your name, your personal brand, your business brand being featured on a large publication like Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Inc., Business Insider. Imagine the impact. And as you can see, that he has published more than 250 articles on so many different places. And this is the framework guiding our discussion today, okay? So this is the first element, pitching to the editor. And this is the second element, build an audience, why it is important, and how to build an audience who just loves you and raves about you and talks about you nonstop. And so the third element is how to write a very effective email before you write a good article, so that the editor will actually open your page, will actually read your email. And the next tip element is send a full article, not a press release. And so the next tip we're going to discuss is bring in more expert. And then the last one is you need to become opinionated, and how to do this in a very safe manner. Okay, so we are going to discuss all of those 6 elements. If you do all of them, my friend, I guarantee that you will get published on those major publications. So let me know. And if you guys have any questions, and I think I'm live on LinkedIn, right? Anyone join us live on LinkedIn? So let me know if you have any questions related to this topic. And have you ever got published in any major publication? And so John, I just got a message. He will join us in any second. And let me know if you have let me know if you have any questions. Hello, Joanna. So I can share with you. And so before John joins us live, let me know what questions you have regarding get published on large publication. So I can really share with you and how I got featured on Forbes right after, a year later after I started my own entrepreneurial journey. And I started actually on Twitter, and we actually connected on Twitter. I don't know her that well, but I have been sharing lots of content, and another person discovered my content. So he actually invited me to join a Facebook group of educators. So I joined that group, and then I saw the Forbes editor in that Facebook group. I was like, wow, what a nice coincidence. And I actually sent a note to this editor, and I told her my story. I said I'm a professor turned entrepreneur, and so I have been on this journey for 12 months. I learned quite a few tips, and here are the things that I have learned on this journey for almost a year. And so I wrote out kind of almost like the entire article, and I just sent it to her. And again, we have that Facebook connection. So I sent my article to her, and I didn't hear anything back from her to bother her. And so about a few weeks later, she got back to me. She really loved my article, and she made some changes. She also added some things to make the article even better. And then the next day, my article is on Forbes. So that was really quite exciting. Yeah. And hey, John, thank you so much.
Hey there. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
Oh, don't worry. I'm so happy you are safe. John ran into a car accident, so I'm just happy you are safe. I already showed everyone your LinkedIn page. I introduced you. We are ready to get started if you are ready.
I'm ready now. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. So you have such a passion for writing. You love writing. You are an amazing writer. And about a few years ago, and LinkedIn launched their feature that allows everyone to publish articles. And you, being a pioneer on this journey, you did a 100-day challenge on LinkedIn. And you started writing articles, and some of your articles even gained millions of views within 24 hours. So definitely share this 100-day challenge with us, and then explain to us how you get started on this journey, and how you even created viral content. That sounds so amazing. Yeah,
great. So first thing you need to know is literally nobody advised me to do this. All my mentors at the time were against me starting to blog. They were like, you're not a writer, you need to be focused on your sales funnel and the things I was doing at that time. And I decided to go against literally everyone's advice. And I started blogging on LinkedIn with no prior experience, having written anything more than like my essays in college. And I wrote our annual Christmas letter that got sent out, but I had no formal writing experience. And I just thought that it was something that I'd like to try. It was something new to try. And so I dove straight in, and I figured that I needed a way to pivot in my career because I was not happy at the time. I was kind of getting the same jobs over and over and over again. And I was like spinning in this hamster wheel in my career at the time. And so I needed to break free of that. And so I was doing an MBA program. That was kind of a catalyst to my writing because I was creating a ton of content in this program I was in. And I looked at, all this content. It was on really timely business topics. And I'm like, well, what do you do with it after you turn it in? You get your feedback, and then it just sits on your laptop forever. Like, what? There has to be some other way I can repurpose this. And then lo and behold, LinkedIn opens up their blogging platform, and so that's really where my initial post came from, was repurposing the assignments I was getting in my MBA class and putting those on LinkedIn and just doctoring them up for a blog post format. And so my first viral post was an assignment in a class that I was taking about leadership and corporate leadership and how to become an executive. And the assignment was to compare and contrast your best leader that you've ever had in your career and the worst one. And I put out a post called 7 Management Traits That Will Make All Your Employees Quit. Really written from the heart. And I didn't name names, in the article. I didn't, go out and slander anyone. But I wrote about the experience I had with a verbally abusive boss. And he was more than just verbally abusive. And I wrote about, his different traits that literally led either, I was in a regional office and either everyone quit or he fired them. And only a few months after I quit, the company had to shut down the entire office because there was no one left. A team of 10 or 11 had dwindled down to around a team of 2 or 3. And it was all of this manager. And, it was such a catastrophic loss for the company because they literally had to pull out of the Northern Colorado market. I mean, they could not sustain the office any longer. So I wrote about that, and it really resonated with people. It went viral. I was still at my corporate job at that time. I published the article and nervously published it because I was afraid I was going to get some heat. And then I went up to get a cup of coffee and said hello to some people. And I came back to my desk, and it already had 10,000 views in a matter of minutes. So it started out viral from the beginning. And the next day, I woke up to an inbox of people requesting my writing services and wondering what my rates were to write for them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even have a rate. Okay, how do I find out what I should charge? And so that really was kind of the beginning for me in terms of, saying, okay, well, maybe this could be, there's something to this writing thing that I can, monetize and figure out a way to level up my career with it. So
Wow.
that's kind of the start of where, the 100-day challenge. I challenged myself to write 100 articles on LinkedIn. It wasn't one a day, but I wrote about 100 articles in a year. And, that just kind of set me on the path that I'm on now.
That is incredible. Like, everyone is inspired by your story. So I love this. Are you still writing regularly on LinkedIn nowadays?
Not nearly as much because I'm writing so much for clients. I'm ghostwriting, and I'm not writing personally as much. I still do love to write for myself, just not quite at the pace, at the clip that I was going at. But anyone who's listening or watching this feed, I would say, if they want to get, I know the purpose of today is to talk about how to get placed on top publications. Before you can do any of that, you need to have, in my case, it was hundreds of blog posts written before I could move to the next level. So that really is, maybe my advice number one is, like with anything, you need to do it a lot, and you need to practice your craft and build your skills. And so platforms like LinkedIn and Medium, writing there and developing an audience and getting better at writing. The more you do it, just like everything else, I said, you need practice and reps. And so using those type of platforms to get better at your writing and develop an audience and hone in on your story.
I mean, thank you for being so vulnerable with us, because one of my questions, I wonder, for your very first few articles you submitted to a large publication, And it is so nice to hear from you that you actually got rejected. So you have been writing for quite some time before you eventually started to hear yes and acceptance. So that has given people like me lots of hope. So do you remember how many articles that you kind of practice? How many have you written before you submitted to those large publications and started to receive kind of regular, consistent acceptance? Do you remember?
Yeah, I would say, my first, 10 or 15 submissions to the Huffington Post were rejected, at least that many. And but I kept writing on LinkedIn and building an audience and getting better at writing. But I probably wrote well over 100 articles before I was accepted into, what I would consider to be a major publication. And, I have some tips on how to do that. One of my mistakes was I was submitting to the general inbox on Huffington Post. So every publication has an inbox you can, submit one-offs to. And I was doing that at Huffington Post, like a lot of people were doing at that time, submitting to HuffPost. And that's actually the wrong strategy. So, you want to avoid that. It's like when you're applying for a job and you apply on the website and it's just a cold submission. I mean, yes, people do get jobs that way, but they get the acceptance rate is so much higher if you can network your way in to the publication, and just same as getting a job, and you're much more likely to get hired as an employee or as a consultant if you know someone already there and you network your way into the organization. Same thing, you're going to get a much higher acceptance rate than the general inbox, where everyone submits to. If you can get to know an editor, get to know a writer, get those people to recommend you. When I applied at Inc., I had 3 people internally recommend me with my application. Wow. And so while they wouldn't tell me, that was the reason they brought me on as a columnist, I have to believe that it really helped my credibility by getting recommended by 3 of their top columnists that were already there and that had been there for a while.
That's amazing. So did those 3 people just discover you kind of organically through the content that you have been sharing?
Yes, and I also engaged with them. So more than anything, I went out of my way to engage on their content, like their posts. That's something like really basic. The next level is to put a thoughtful comment on their articles, on their when they share them on Twitter or LinkedIn, like not just, hey, I like this article, or a great article or something. People appreciate compliments, but if you really can go more in depth with your commentary and show that you're someone that understands their content that they're putting out there and the relevance it has to the community, and if you can show that you really digested it and you read it, and that shows that you're kind of a super fan, and those are the type of people that get noticed by columnists and editors. And then so when you do submit or you do ask them for a favor, they feel indebted to you a little bit.
Well, I love this. It's almost like commenting is a strategy. I love, how you are using commenting to grab those people's attention and to also make a meaningful comment on their content. I'm sure everyone spends hours to produce a good piece of content. So I really want to dive into some of the tips that you already mentioned. And I shared this article earlier. I want to share again. And I'm also going to send a link in the comment section. Everyone, you have to check out this article and take notes. This is what our discussion is going to be based on today. So in this article and today, you have written more than 250 articles and published on all those different large publications. Congratulations, very impressive. So I want to go over each of those elements that you mentioned and have a quick discussion, and maybe you can give us some of the tips and elaborate a little bit. So I want to start with the very first one, John. And so pitch directly to an editor. Why is that important?
Yeah, so I touched on it a second ago, but it's the difference between applying, to like a general mailbox or inbox when you're applying for jobs, or going directly to the hiring manager and networking and getting to know the person that's actually going to be making the decision, so that when your application comes through, they already know you. It stands out because you're a name, a face that they already know. And that's the same way with writing to these publications. Network with an editor, get to know them. They get paid on page views. Columnists and editors typically at these publications, their compensation is through the number of people that read their articles. So if you're out there and you're tweeting and sharing their articles that regularly with a thoughtful comment or two on the post, and you're getting them readers, that's helping them get paid and helping them keep their job there, right? Because if you're an editor and you're not getting page views, they'll work you out. So I mean, they need that. It's like page views are currency for columnists and editors. So get to know them and network with them. And so then when you're making your pitch later down the road, either to be a source, maybe you want to be a source in one of their articles where they quote you as an expert. That is a tremendous asset for your brand, because now you've got a logo of a highly credible publication that has featured you in credit and quoted you as an expert in their publication. So again, if they already know you and they see you as a valuable contributor to the overall community, your acceptance rate is much, much higher than a cold pitch.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, my dear friend Peter, based in UK, is helping me post comments. We have quite a few people joining us live right now. So if you have any question related to get published, and please feel free to tag Peter if I missed your questions, as we are live on multiple channels. So feel free to tag Peter and ask questions. This is your chance. So I really love this tip, John. And I think one question, I don't know if any live audience has this question, but one question that I have is, like, those editors, they probably get like so many messages on a daily basis. So they're probably very protective of their contact information. So where do you even like find their contact information? Like, how do you like get their attention? Like, besides commenting, like if you want to send them an email, like, or like you send them a social media DM, is that how you approach them?
Yeah, you certainly can. You want to get connected to them on their social media channels. So, follow them on Twitter, send them a connection request on LinkedIn. And when you're communicating with them, if you can reference an article that you've read of theirs, that really helps your credibility. I get people that, they make kind of, everyone appreciates compliments, but you can kind of tell when it's really, sort of an empty compliment where they're just like saying it to say it. Oh, I'm your greatest reader, and you get this email from someone and like, really? Well, I've never seen a like from you on any of my posts. I've never seen a comment from you on my post. And then there's, a message from someone that references a specific article. Hey, I read this one of yours and it really impacted me, in these ways. Then their level of sincerity comes through in the message, and it's not just like, okay, maybe this person's just trying to butter me up for a pitch, right? So the people that are more genuine, the better their message comes across, and when they're pitching to either be featured or get a column somewhere.
Yeah, this is such a great comment, such a great tip, referring back to the content they have produced. Because on LinkedIn, I'm sure with you, 50,000 people follower. And oftentimes when I receive even a personalized message, you can see that it's a copy paste. You can see like, hey, your content is really amazing. I love you. Like, I love what you are doing. Like, very generic. So that is a really great tip of advice. I love it. So that's the first one. Let me bring back the article again. So that's the first point you mentioned. And so everyone, I shared the link to the article already in the comment section. So make sure you save this and print it out. And so the second one is build an audience. And explain to us, John, why is this important? And you have such an incredible audience on different social media platforms, LinkedIn and Twitter, and even on Instagram. So what are some of your top tips to build a loyal audience who just love you, who follows you, who shares your content?
Yeah, first off, I think that consistency in producing content is really key. I built my initial audience on LinkedIn with those first 100 posts. Now, I've certainly gotten followers since then, but that really was the catalyst for me, being consistent in producing your content. And, I see so many people that come and they want to be a thought leader, they want to get published, and they get really excited about it. And then they go out and they produce like a ton of content in 1 month. And then, if they don't get the results they want immediately, they jump out of the game and they stop, and then they start again in 6 months because they get suddenly remotivated. But that strategy never really pays off.
Yeah.
Consistent output of content. And so the second tip I would say is to follow a reach out first strategy. So what I mean by that is, don't wait for followers necessarily to find you. Go out and find your ideal follower and engage with them first. So on Twitter, what that looks like is following and maybe retweeting them. And so a certain amount of people are going to follow you back. If you're proactive on Twitter and you follow people, it gets people checking you out, because they're going to at least go to your profile and say, okay, do I want to follow this person back or not? But you want to be strategic about it, because you want actual readers, not just to gain a tonnage of followers. You want people that either can become a client of yours, or they can hire you, or they're going to read your content, they're interested in what you're producing. And so you find those people on hashtags. And if you're going to be writing or the environment, you want to go to those types of hashtags, and you want to build your following around those people that are producing and writing and tweeting about that content already, because they're interested in your topic, in your subject matter. And the same thing goes for LinkedIn. Hashtags work really well in terms of bringing up people that are interested in certain topics and already posting about those topics. And go ahead and send those people a connection request. Say, hey, you can even reference their post in the connection request, and say, hey, I saw this post on green living solutions and on LinkedIn, really enjoyed it. I also have a passion for the topic. Can we connect? Boom, you send that message. I guarantee you there is a 90% acceptance rate with something like that. And then you're being proactive about building your network, and you're going to get followers and too by just producing great content. But if you're proactive about, building your network and taking that first step, it's like you go to a networking event and there's a ton of people in the room, right? And you don't want to be like just sitting there and just hoping someone comes and finds you in the corner. You want to go out and introduce yourself and be proactive. And it's the same thing with social media, only we have tools that you can create a better list than just randomly walking up to someone at a networking event. Maybe there's a theme around the event or something, but who you're going to be speaking to. It may be an executive. It may be someone that has nothing to do with what you do. On social media, you can find people in seconds that are in your field, that are already thought leaders, that are interested in what you're interested in. And so that's a big advantage of the social media platforms in terms of building a network and how you can, rather than traditional methods of attending a networking event, and maybe you get 15 or 20 business cards, and out of those 15 or 20, maybe 1 or 2 might become a meaningful connection for you. On social scale so much faster, and it avoids
oftentimes like the business card, I just put it on my desk or in a drawer to collect dust. I don't even touch it ever after the event is over. So yeah, so true. Social media is a lot more sustainable, like kind of organic, and I also love the following hashtag. tip that you give. Like I recently started to follow specific for me education and parenting hashtags on LinkedIn, and I have definitely made lots of meaningful connections and getting them on my show or like really learning from their content is such a great tip. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, when you come at it from a perspective of a common interest, people are just so much more receptive to engage with you because you're passionate about what they're passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah. So Brigitte, and thank you for joining us live and asking you. So how much work does it go into like building meaningful relationships? Is it lots of work, or I don't know if you can quantify like how many hours, especially in the beginning of this journey?
Mm-hmm.
How much time does it take you to really cultivate those meaningful relationships?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a time investment into doing this, especially when you are first starting out. If you don't have the type of network you'd like to have online, you're going to need to invest at least 15 or 20 minutes of your day every day in developing those relationships and putting out content. So I would say at a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes a day, and be specific with what you're doing, because like everyone knows that we can get on social media and get distracted really quickly, and all of a sudden an hour goes by and you've just been scrolling and commenting on people's random posts. So I would really make sure that you're strategic with that time that you're investing, like doing specific activities that that are going to pay off for building your network and building your community. So don't just like go on social media and just, let me scroll around and see what I can find. Like go on it, for whatever amount of time you can dedicate in your daily schedule, but be very specific and have a meaningful activity on there, so it does produce an ROI. But because just going on and aimlessly scrolling and commenting on political posts, unless that's your livelihood, that's what pays your bills, easy to get.
And that's a really great tip.
Yeah.
And even for social media in general, you're so good at this, and like to see the end goal, that is so important, and be intentional and strategic. So yeah, so far today we're talking about how to get featured on large publications with the one and only John White. So if you are joining us live, feel free to ask any questions, and our discussion is based on this impressive article which I shared in the comment section. And so far we discussed 2 elements. And so I think this one is really, really important. I love how you made a point in this paragraph. So many of us were so concerned about writing this epic article. But what you are talking about here in this paragraph is, before we got so concerned about writing that amazing article, we want to make sure that we have a good email pitch so that the editor will actually click on that email, open that email. So I wonder if you can share with us some tips in terms of drafting that ideal, really good, exciting, engaging, interesting email, and also specifically in terms of the subject line. I think that's really key, even before you get into the body of the email, so that the subject line, what is the title of your email? That must be so hard, must be a attention grabber. So I wonder if you can talk about that as well, or maybe even give us some winning cases, examples that you used before, John.
Yeah, sure. So, the subject line is important. And I think that if you can put in the line, like what your article is about, like give like a quick preview, so that the editor knows that it's a relevant pitch right away, because they get so many irrelevant pitches and so many people don't take the time. They just send out mass pitches, right? They're like, well, if I pitch 5,000 editors, surely one of them will like it and publish me. And so they send out the generic copy and paste pitch, and they're like, okay, well, maybe 5,000 are going direct. So maybe I need 10,000, And so, but people can see right past those generic pitches, and those get, the copy and paste. They just don't have a high acceptance rate. So you want to personalize your pitches, and you want to make sure they're relevant to that editor. I can't tell you how many people want to be in my Inc. articles or want to be quoted by me, and they pitch me on some topic like basket weaving, or like something that I would never write about in a million years. And so it's like, really, did you really read one of my articles and you think that my basket weaving would be something that I would write about? And it's just so off topic. It's like, come on, I'm never going to write about this. And so the vast majority of the pitches I get are off topic. They're just on subjects that, I would never write about, like a financial crisis or something. I'm not a financial guy. Why would I write about that? I don't have any credibility there. Unless we're relating it somehow to marketing and PR and sales, why would I write that article? It just sounds, it would just be like, it's just so off topic. So you got to make sure that you're pitching to an editor that handles that type of content that you want to get featured for and you want to get published for. Otherwise, you're wasting. It doesn't matter how many people you pitch, they're all going to get rejected because your topic is irrelevant to them. So make sure that you're reading your stuff, you're reading their columns before you make the pitch. Keep it short. That's another huge tip of mine. I can't tell you how many pitches I get. They're hundreds of words long. There's a YouTube video they want me to watch. They want me to click on multiple links. And just to get through their pitch, it would take me 15 or 20 minutes of my time. And, you have like up to 1 or 2 paragraphs to get these people to click on one link. But don't send them, 6, 8, 10, 12 paragraph emails about your pitch. It's you get the maximum impact in 1 to 2 paragraphs, and then one link, not 5 or 6 different links with the YouTube this or that. One link per pitch.
Wow, that is gold. And Sue just mentioned, thank you for joining us live, Sue. And she's learning so much. Piece of advice, because from our perspective, we want to tell you as much information as possible to build that trust. Hey, here are 5 links. But it is so interesting to hear from your perspective. Yeah, that takes lots of time. Yeah. So you recommend kind of like 1 or at most 2 paragraphs and at most 1 link. That's it.
That's it. Short, sweet, and impactful. You got to catch their attention, and it's got you have a limited amount of time to do it.
Oh, that's great. Can you share us some like really good subject lines and like some examples you want to share with us so we can kind of conceptualize this a little bit, like how long that should be, or even like make it longer or shorter? Also keep that simple, or like go really crazy to make sure that people actually click on it, like clickbait. So can you give us a few examples, John?
Yeah, I would say like you want to be upfront with that it's an article submission, so they know what type of email it is. And then in parentheses, put something that's catchy from the article. Maybe it's a abbreviated headline. Maybe it's a keyword, in the article. So that way you're giving them a preview of your submission, and that it is going to be relevant to them and what they write about. So if it's too generic, of a title, they are less likely to click on it because they think it'll be just a generic submission. So if you can include, anything that's catchy about the article in the title or some sort of keywords in parentheses, it kind of lets the editor know that the subject matter is of potential relevance to what they do and what they write about and what their columns are about. But something that's going to help your submission stand out in terms of the others that are just using off-topic submission forms and things like that.
I wonder if you have a rough number, like how many like emails they receive on a daily basis. I don't even know. Is that like definitely 2 digits, right? Like dozens of, or maybe even like 3 digits? Like how many do you know? Do you have any idea or?
Yeah, I would say when I was at my most active with Inc., I was getting 10 or more a day.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
10 to 20 submissions from PR agencies, from individuals, from companies. Um, definitely. I mean, I run a business too and a family, so it's 10 to 20 pitches a day was a lot.
That's really on top of that, you are doing your own content creation, and then you have to go through their links, and yeah, it makes so much sense what you shared. Yeah. So far, we discussed quite a few things, and this is the next one. So send a full article, not a press release, and this is such an eye opener to me, and it is actually so true. In my case, I got featured on Forbes. I didn't even know this. I just actually wrote out the article. That's just the way I am. But it is really interesting to hear this from you. Really validated my idea. So why is this important, John? Why do we need to send them a full article, not just a press release?
Yeah, so press releases are so like 1990s and 2000. They definitely still are. You can get results with press releases, but the full article is much more effective. And so what we were just talking about with my life, having a business I run, I have 2 kids that I run to soccer practice and dance practice, and I have a wife, that I like to see every once in a while, and other things going on in my life. And so what press releases, they contain some useful information, but you're asking the writer to still have to do a lot more work in terms of constructing the actual article. So if you're sending the writer or the editor a complete article that you've either written yourself or you've had a ghostwriter professionally write, it contains your quote in the article already. So you're already quoted in there with your name and business name. And so what that does is it just saves writers a ton of time. Because typically they'll have like a quota number of articles they need to write per month to stay a contributor or a columnist. And so if you're sending them a really well-written article where all they have to do is interject their own voice into it and their own stories, the facts are all there. You've presented them with some great data points. That's really relevant. If you can, when you're submitting articles, writers love strong data where it shows, credible data, backs up their stories from a credible source, and it's maybe new data. That's really powerful. So if you in your article, if you can, do that legwork for them, find that data that, is out there that's going to be interesting to their audience. So you're doing all of the legwork, and again, they get a really great article. That all they have to do is just edit it for their voice, maybe add in, a couple stories or two, and then boom, the article's ready to go, and you just save a ton of time and doing research. And they also, when you write an article, you have to typically find sources. So you're saving them time from finding sources too. So and then the other tip I would give, and I'm not sure if this one's in the article, maybe it is, but when you're writing these articles and you're submitting them to a writer and you're quoting yourself within the article as an expert, it also helps to get other quotes from other people. And if those people are of high authority, or maybe they're even some level of celebrity in your industry, then you've just leveled up the article in terms of quality for the writer as well. So not only have you provided yourself as an expert in the article with your opinion and quote, you've gone out and you found an expert that maybe is even of a greater authority level than you. And that just, that's really a golden tip, because it helps, it's like, okay, well, let me just slide my quote in with, this mega star in the article.
Like now I feel so honored. I'm actually interviewing you, which also adds credibility to me. So I love this. But for people who are just kind of starting out on this journey, how do they even like create a buy-in from, hey, someone reach out to you, I want to do a quick interview with you or get a quote from you for this article I'm writing. So is there a way like to get that buy-in from them to share something with you? Or like you kind of have some social proof?
Yeah, everybody wants earned media, right? Where they're not having to pay a PR agency to get it for them, or they're not having to, not the PR agencies, that's a lot of what they do is they go out and they get earned media, but this would be a free earned media piece for them that they wouldn't have to pay for, or they don't have to pay an advertising agency to do paid media. So you're doing them a huge favor, and everybody needs, even the most like top celebrities still need media and earned media appearances. And so you're doing them a favor. And when you send them a message and you say something like, hey, I'm working on putting this article together and I'm going to try to get it published in these publications. Would you be willing to contribute a 2 to 3 sentence or 2 to 4 sentence quote for the article? And if I can get it published, I'll send it to you right away, type of thing. And most people are like, okay, I'll definitely contribute, because you're not asking, it's not a huge ask. It's not like you're asking them to write the whole entire article. You're just saying, hey, I'm going to try to get this article published in these publications. And would you mind just sharing a few thoughts on the subject? And most people are definitely willing to do that.
Totally,
subject line, maybe you want to put the subject of like media collaboration or media opportunity or something like that to get them, pique their interest.
Yeah, I love that. You did such. I'm also going to share in the comment section, everyone. And John did this incredible interview with Mark Cuban. I loved reading that article. I'm going to share the link in the comment section in a second. So here is a question from Bridget, and she asked, so if you are thinking about writing an article, so what if there are already like books, so many articles on this topic? Should you feel like, you don't need to talk about this anymore because there are already so many books, or you could still pursue this idea, but maybe do it differently? So what do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I wouldn't let that shy you away from writing it. I mean, you don't want to add to the noise, so to speak, like if the topic is just kind of noisy. But what you can do is, add your own unique perspective to the story. So, and this is actually a really good technique, is where you find a story that's trending, but you add to it with a relevant story, a use case, additional data from your career, or a story about how that whatever's trending impacted the market or impacted your company or your job. So take a story that's already trending and add your own spin to it. And that's a really good way to contribute to the conversation and not just add to the noise. And so, you're not just repeating a story of, just by regurgitating what's already out there. You're taking that trending piece, you're referencing it in the article, and then you're adding in your own expertise, your own stories, your own, level of expertise, and you're capturing the relevancy of that topic, and then, making it real for your readers.
I love it. And we have a bunch of people joining us live from Australia. It is Thursday morning for them. I just want to say Lance. Yeah. So, so last point you already hear is the article. And so the last point you mentioned here is really interesting. Like take a stance. And this is something that kind of, wow, that really made me stop and think about this because, like you don't want to be too controversial, right? Or if is there any like consequence in terms of being too opinionated? Like where do you draw the line? And so explain this. Why we need to take a stance? Why this is important?
Yeah, well, you need to take a stance in terms of what I just said. You don't want to just be like going to Google and just regurgitating what's already out there because that's boring. I mean, people can get that information. The information's already out there. So you need to, when you're writing content, typically take a stance on it and decide what people can get from it. So you're not just, like I said, repackaging a post that's already been written 100 times. You're taking that information and you're providing solutions that people haven't thought of yet. And so you're providing extra value to the topic or the conversation. And so typically that requires you to take that information and then go with it one way or another. And so you're piquing people's interest and you're not just writing a boring, bland article that people can get, anywhere. And so like the article I wrote about the 7 management traits that require, that made all the employees quit. The article was a little bit edgy. I think people ask me, well, what do you do about trolls and people that you offend? And I think that trolls should be celebrated.
I love that. That should be a T-shirt, right? I love it. Yeah. Do you even?
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Trolls should be celebrated. So when you get a troll, you should pat yourself on the back because you know that your content has resonated with enough people that people are looking at you as someone who matters, and because trolls don't just go to they have lives too. they choose to troll people that typically have made some sort of impact, and so brush that off. Don't let their opinions deter you. Instead, let them empower you to keep writing and congratulate yourself that your stuff has become viral enough that people are really noticing.
I love that. So do you have haters who kind of hate you? Like, do you have that or no?
I totally do. I had one today on LinkedIn, as a matter of fact. I blocked him. I pulled out the block button today on LinkedIn. It was just a guy that just wouldn't he told me in his comment how bad he did like my post. I tried to clarify it for him, and then he just kept going on and on about how bad my post sucked. And I'm like, okay, like you're wasting our time. Block, move on. Yeah. But the post was getting a lot of attention, and so it naturally will attract the wrong type of attention. When you put stuff out there like that, but you let it brush it off your back, and just congratulate yourself that you're putting out content that's now getting people to click on and read.
I wish I knew this before. When I got my very first hater, I cried for 2 years. It was a dear friend. It was a friend, not just a random person. It was a dear friend, and it was crazy. It was very strange, and it really affected me. I disappeared from social media for quite some time.
Gosh.
Yeah, so it's really nice to hear this.
Yeah, don't hesitate to bring out the block button. Just block those people and keep moving on.
Yeah, this is great. By the way, everyone, I'm sharing Social Marketing Solutions is John's website. You guys should definitely follow so many amazing articles, blog articles. You should check it out. So we are almost wrapping up here. Any parting piece of advice you want to share with us, John, and to help us get published? And share with us.
Yeah, I think the key is just to get started. I think there's probably some listeners out there that are maybe a little bit pumped up after hearing this, and at least I hope they are. But I would encourage you to take the next step and get started. And there's never really, like, if you're waiting for like that moment of, okay, well, now is the great time. Maybe in 6 months I'll be less busy, or I'll be, I'll have this or that. And there is really not a ideal time to get started. You just have to do it. And you have to put yourself out there. It's a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, it's a lot uncomfortable, especially those first few times, but you have to get over that fear and put yourself out there. And maybe your first article is not going to look like your 100th article, and that's okay, because you have to get started somewhere. And so that's really the one tip I would say. If you're at all thinking about getting featured in the media, you're all thinking about writing a column or blogs, take the information you learned today. Don't wait until you're more comfortable in your own skin, because that's never going to happen until you actually just step out of your comfort zone and do it, and just get started. Just go out and get started.
I love that. Get started. It is also my life philosophy as well. I have been hosting a live streaming show for 3 years. When I was looking at my very first live interview a few days ago, I was like, oh my God, like delete. Someone needs to delete that. But like, I'm so happy I had that, because without that point, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm sure a few years down the road, I'll be looking back at where I am today. I was like, wow, that was actually not that good. So I love that tip from you. Thank you so much for sharing, John. And I already shared your LinkedIn. Where is a great place for people to connect with you, and social media wise?
Definitely my Twitter. I share lots of great content there. All of my blog articles, tips, motivational content. So my Twitter handle is @JuanBlanco76. So there's a story behind that. I was an exchange student in Spain, and my name translates to Spanish. John White translates to Juan Blanco. So that nickname has kind of followed me everywhere. But it's not always, if you don't speak Spanish, it's not always obvious. So my page up, but that nickname, it is also Juan Blanco 76 is also me on Twitter. I'm sorry, on Instagram, Twitter and Instagram.
Okay.
So good places, but definitely Twitter. I'm really active on there, and hope to see you all out there. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm very accessible. Happy to engage and help any of you out, either paid or unpaid, as a resource for you. So please do reach out.
Absolutely, everyone. You hear how amazing John is. Definitely follow him. Check out his blog article. Follow him on Twitter, on different social media platforms, and check out their website. I have learned a lot. I can't wait to revisit all those 6 points that we have discussed, and maybe even challenge myself to do my next article. Who knows? So thank you so much again for your time, and thank you so much everyone for joining us live from literally all over the globe. So this live show happens every Wednesday and at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I hope to see you again next Wednesday, same time, same location, and join my WhatsApp group to receive weekly reminders of show time and show guests. So hopefully to see you next week, and thank you so much again, John. You are amazing. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
That was so good. Thank you so much.